At 6:40 a.m., I found our back door unlocked. The deadbolt had a pale scrape under it, like someone tested metal on metal and didn't care if it showed. The deadbolt scrape looked fresh under my thumb. My mom, Denise, padded in behind me in her fuzzy socks. She leaned over my shoulder, squinted like she was grading me, and said, "Wind must have caught it." The air didn't smell like wind. It smelled like yesterday's dish soap and the cold seam around the doorframe. I pulled the door shut until it thudded, then twisted the deadbolt hard. It clicked like it had a new attitude. Eli wandered in, rubbing his face with both fists. He didn't talk much. Mostly he pointed, or hummed, or pressed his forehead into Kara's hip when the world felt too loud. This morning he climbed onto the kitchen chair without looking at anyone, knees on the seat, and stretched toward the mantel. The family photo sat up there in a cheap black frame. Christmas a few years ago. Grandpa Ron's grin. Kara's smile, a little too practiced. Denise in the middle like a centerpiece. Me on the end, half-cropped because I'd stepped out to grab the timer. Eli planted one finger on the glass like it was a sign. He said one word. Clear, small, commanding. Run. Denise's cup slipped out of her hand like her fingers forgot their job. It hit the tile and the saucer cracked with a sharp, thin pop. Coffee splashed in a dark arc and slid toward the baseboard. Kara froze at the sink with a bottle of dish soap in her hand. Her eyes flicked to Eli, then to me, then away, like she was trying to pick which lie fit fastest. "Eli," she said, too bright. "Buddy, no, you don't." I didn't answer her. I went straight for Kara's diaper bag on the chair by the kitchen table. It always sat at that same corner, tucked against the wall like a habit we didn't talk about. I unzipped it and shoved aside a pack of wipes, a crushed snack bag, 2 tiny socks. My fingers found something hard under the lining. A square, taped flat, not meant to be felt. I peeled the fabric back. A tracker blinked faint green. The tracker blinked green like a tiny heartbeat. I held it up between my thumb and forefinger. The tape stretched and snapped loose with a soft, ugly sound. Eli didn't look at the tracker. He watched the door. Denise didn't look at it either. Her eyes went to the kitchen window, to the driveway, to the street beyond our duplex, where the early light made everything look clean even when it wasn't. Kara snatched a dish towel and scrubbed at the coffee like she could erase the moment. "Jordan, put that down," she whispered, like the tracker would hear her. "Why is it in your bag?" I asked. My voice came out flat, which scared me more than yelling. Kara's jaw jumped once. "It's not in my bag." "That's my hand holding it," I said. I turned the tracker over. Smooth plastic, no logo. A seam where you'd pry it open if you had fingernails and patience. Denise stepped closer, careful around the coffee puddle. "Don't make this bigger," she said. She wasn't pleading, she was managing. I pulled a sandwich bag from the junk drawer and dropped the tracker inside. The drawer stuck halfway like it always did, and my thumb caught on a folded receipt wedged under a rubber band double stapled at the top, the metal biting my skin for a second before I shook it off. I set the bag on the table corner. Same corner. Same spot I used when I brought home case files and didn't want them near the plates. Kara's voice cracked. "Maybe it's from the store, like those security tags." "Those don't blink," I said. Denise reached for the bag. I slid it back toward myself. Not fast, just enough. Her smile tightened. Jordan. That was her warning name, the one she used when she wanted me small. I tapped my phone screen awake, then again, like the time could change if I looked away. 6:47. I took a photo of the tracker through the plastic. The camera struggled to focus on the blinking light, and for a split second, a screen behind my camera view flashed a blurred line just one part readable before it smudged into glare. Last seen 6:52 am. I didn't say what I saw. I just saved the image. Kara kept wiping. Denise picked up the broken cup pieces with the calm hands of someone who'd dropped things before and survived it. Eli climbed down from the chair, pressed his palm against the door, and hummed like a low engine. "What did he mean?" Kara asked, but she didn't look at Eli when she said it. Denise answered for him. "He's repeating things. He hears a word, he repeats it." I stared at the crack in the saucer. "From where?" Denise's mouth opened, closed, then opened again like she was choosing a safe version. "Jordan, we're not doing this at breakfast." I grabbed my keys. The metal was cold, heavy, real. "I'm doing it now," I said. Denise's phone lit up on the counter beside the dish soap. I didn't mean to see it. I saw it anyway. Derek, on my way. Word count, 652. Approve part 1, continue? Continue. Đã suy nghĩ trong 29. Eine space. Derek's name sat on my mom's screen like a finger on a bruise. I watched Mom's eyes avoid the tracker, then the door. Who's Derek? I asked. Denise didn't pick up the phone. She flipped it face down, slow and deliberate, like that could erase the text. A friend, she said. He helps sometimes. Kara grabbed Eli's jacket off the hook and shoved his arms through it too fast. Eli stiffened, shoulders up, breath shallow. She kissed his hair like an apology she didn't want to say out loud. I slid the Ziploc bag with the tracker into my coat pocket. The plastic crinkled against my knuckles. I'm changing the locks, I said. Denise's smile stayed in place. Her voice changed instead. You're going to scare Kara. Kara shot her a look sharp, quick, then dropped it. Jordan, please, she said, like begging was safer than admitting anything. I didn't argue. I just walked out. The air outside cut clean and cold. Our duplex sat too close to the street. Cars rolled past, like they'd always rolled past, like nobody had ever stood at our back door at 6:40 a.m. and tested the deadbolt. I drove to the hardware store 3 miles away, hands tight on the steering wheel. At every stop sign, I checked my mirrors. Habit, I told myself. Paralegal brain, detail obsession. But my stomach didn't believe me. Inside, the fluorescent lights made everything look pale and guilty. I grabbed the heaviest deadbolt I could afford and a chain latch, then a cheap door brace that would make it harder to shoulder the door in. At the register, the kid scanned my items and said, "You want the receipt?" "Yes," I said, too fast. He stapled it to the bag, 1 staple. Then, without thinking, I pinched the paper and stapled it again at the service counter, double stapled, like I needed the proof to hurt my fingers before I trusted it. Back in the car, I pulled the tracker out of the Ziploc bag and turned it over. The green light pulsed like it wasn't even trying to hide. I used my key to pry at the seam until it gave a tiny click. Inside, a coin battery and a printed sticker with a serial number. I snapped photos. 1, 2, 3. Then I zoomed in until the numbers filled the screen. My phone stuttered and, for a beat, that blurred line flashed again behind my camera view, just one sharp strip of text before glare washed it out. Last seen, 6:52 a.m. I read it twice. Then a third time. My pulse didn't slow. It sped up, like my body wanted to outrun my eyes. When I pulled into my office parking lot, my coffee sat untouched in the cup holder. The lid rattled with every vibration of my hand. I didn't go inside. I stayed in the car and opened my photo roll. The tracker pictures were clear. The serial number was clear. But that last scene line was always half there, like the phone didn't want to cooperate. I took a screenshot anyway. Evidence you can't trust is still evidence. My voicemail icon showed 3 missed calls, one from a number I didn't recognize, one from Kara, one from a clinic. I played the clinic one first. "Hi, Jordan. This is Miss Patel," the woman said, clipped and careful, like she was choosing every word with tweezers. "I'm calling because Eli repeated a word in session today that we should document. Please call me back." Document. The word hit different when you'd just found a tracker in a diaper bag. I called Kara. She answered on the second ring, breathy like she'd been running. "Where are you?" she asked. "At work," I lied, even though my car was still in the lot and my badge was still in my purse. "Mom said you're changing the locks," she said. "I am." A pause. Then, softer, "He's going to lose it." "Who's he?" I asked. "Derek?" Kara exhaled like she'd been holding her breath since breakfast. "Don't say his name," she whispered. That was the first time Kara confirmed it without meaning to. I pressed my forehead to the steering wheel for a second, then lifted it. "Kara, why is there a tracker in your bag?" "It's not mine," she said, and her voice sounded like it had been rehearsed. "I didn't put it there." "Did Mom?" Silence. "Kara," I said, and this time my voice wasn't flat. It was sharp. "Answer me." She said it was for safety," Kara finally said. "For Eli, for pickup, for if something happened." "For if something happened," I repeated. "Or for if you ran." Kara made a small sound, half laugh, half sob. "Jordan, please don't do this over the phone." I looked at the screenshot again. Last seen 6:52 a.m. I checked the time on my lock screen, 9:18. I checked it again. Same. My thumb hovered over share, like my body wanted to send the screenshot to someone, anyone, just to make it real. Then my phone buzzed with a text from Denise. Don't involve anyone. He's coming over. Derek's name glowed on Mom's screen at 9:18. I stood in the kitchen doorway and watched my mom flip her phone face down like it was a hot pan. The screen went dark, but the name stayed in my head. Who's Derek? I asked. Denise didn't look at me. She bent and picked up a clean shard of ceramic from the broken saucer. A friend, she said. He helps sometimes. Kara shoved Eli's arms into his jacket too fast. Eli's shoulders jumped up around his ears, and he made that small, tight hum he does when fabric feels like sandpaper. The Ziploc bag in my coat pocket crinkled when I moved. The tracker's green blink pressed against the plastic like it had its own pulse. At 6:52 a.m., something had been seen without my permission. I'm changing the locks, I said. Denise's mouth tightened into her polite smile. You're going to scare Kara. Kara's eyes flashed at her, then dropped to Eli. Jordan, please, she said, soft and urgent, like begging could keep the walls from hearing. I didn't argue. I grabbed my keys and left while the coffee stain still spread under the cabinet. Outside, the air cut clean and sharp. Our duplex sat too close to the street, too exposed. I kept my rearview mirror tilted down just enough to catch a sliver of the back door. The hardware store was 3 miles away, and I drove it twice. I circled the block once, then pulled into the lot like normal. Inside, the fluorescent lights made everyone's skin look sickly. I grabbed the heaviest deadbolt on the shelf, a chain latch, and a cheap door brace that promised strength on cardboard. At the register, the kid scanned my items and asked, "Receipt?" "Yes," I said, and my voice came out clipped. The paper slid into the bag, and I yanked it back out anyway. At the service counter, I stapled it again, 2 staples now, biting into the top edge like they wanted to leave a mark on me. I don't trust a thing until it hurts my fingers. Back in my car, I set the bag on the passenger seat and pulled the tracker out of the Ziploc. The green light blinked, steady, calm, like it owned the day. I wedged my key into the seam and twisted until it popped. Coin battery, a thin circuit, a sticker with tiny printed numbers. I took photos. Then I took them again. The screenshot's one sharp line read, "Last seen 6:52. I zoomed in until my phone shook in my hand. The serial looked like a random string, but my brain treated it like a case number anyway. My lock screen said 9:18. I checked it again. Same. In my photo roll, the tracker pictures were clear, the deadbolt box was clear, but the last seen line kept showing up half blurred, like the phone wanted to protect whoever sent it. I saved the screenshot anyway. When I pulled into my office parking lot, I didn't get out. I sat there with my coffee untouched in the cup holder and my keys digging into my palm. My voicemail icon showed 3 missed calls. Kara, a number I didn't recognize, and a clinic. I played the clinic message first. "Hi, Jordan, this is Miss Patel," the woman said, careful and clipped. "I'm calling because Eli repeated a word in session today that we should document. Please call me back." Document. The word landed heavy. I called Kara. She answered on the second ring, breathy like she'd been holding her breath since breakfast. "Where are you?" she asked. "At work?" I lied. "Mom said you're changing the locks," she said. "I am." A pause. Then, lower. "He's going to lose it." "Who's he?" I asked. "Derek?" Kara's inhale hitched. "Don't say his name," she whispered. That wasn't denial. That was fear, with a rule attached. "Kara," I said, and my voice went sharp on purpose. "Why is there a tracker in your bag?" "It's not mine," she said fast. Too fast. "I didn't put it there." "Did Mom?" Silence, long enough to hear traffic through her phone. "She said it was for safety," Kara finally said, like she'd memorized it. "For Eli. For pickup. For if something happened." End quote. "For if something happened," I repeated, staring at the screenshot. "Or for if you ran." Kara made a small sound, half laugh, half cry. "Please don't do this over the phone." My coffee lid rattled when my knee started bouncing. I forced it still with my hand. I checked the time again. 9:24. Then again. 9:24. The same minute kept trapping me. My phone buzzed with a text from Denise, all caps like she'd lost her indoor voice. "Don't involve anyone. He's coming over." My description. Denise's text sat on my screen like a hand over my mouth. Don't involve anyone, he's coming over. I didn't text back. I didn't call. I started my car and drove home like I could beat whatever coming over meant. The Ziploc bag with the tracker rode in my coat pocket. Every time I shifted, the plastic crackled like it wanted attention. I kept one hand on the wheel and one hand on my phone, checking the time twice at every red light, like the numbers could warn me. Jodan Sashiyifen. When I pulled onto our street, I slowed down before my driveway. I scanned for a car I didn't recognize, a figure near the back door, anything out of place. Everything looked normal, which made my skin crawl. I didn't park in front. I pulled into the alley behind the duplex and killed the engine. The quiet felt staged. I walked to the back door and crouched. The scrape on the deadbolt was still there, thin, pale, too straight to be an accident. I ran my thumb over it and felt a burr, like the metal had been forced. That scrape wasn't wind, it was pressure. Inside, Kara was in the living room with Eli, stacking blocks and narrating it in a voice that sounded like it belonged to somebody else. Eli kept glancing toward the hallway like he was listening for footsteps that hadn't arrived yet. Denise was at the kitchen table corner, the same corner sorting mail into neat piles like she could reorganize reality. Her cup was gone. She'd switched to water in a plastic tumbler. No breakable objects, no accidents. You came back, she said, without looking up. I live here, I said. Her fingers paused on an envelope. You didn't have to run out like that. I pulled the Ziploc bag from my pocket and set it on the table. The green blink lit the wood with a tiny pulse. Kara's hands froze mid-block. Denise didn't flinch. That scared me more than the cup drop. Take it away, she said softly. Eli will see it. And Skame, he already did, I said. He said, run. Kara's throat worked. He repeats words, she tried again. From where? I asked, and I let the question hang like a weight. Denise finally looked up. Her eyes went past me to the back door, then back to the bag. Jordan, she said in that managing tone, you don't understand what you're touching. That's why I'm asking, I said. Who is Derek? Kara's block tower collapsed with a plastic clatter. Eli flinched and pressed his forehead into her shoulder. Denise didn't answer. She slid the mail pile into a straighter line. Control, not comfort. I grabbed the hardware store bag and dumped the deadbolt box and chain latch onto the table. The double-stapled receipt fell out and skidded toward me. I caught it. My thumb hit the staples and stung. The same little bite as before. I'm installing these, I said. Now. Denise's lips pressed together. You're making a scene. No, I said. I'm making a barrier. I moved fast on purpose. If I slowed down, I'd start bargaining with her again, and I was tired of bargaining. The back door screws fought me like they'd been waiting for this. I dug in with the screwdriver, forearm burning, and pulled the old deadbolt out. When I held it in my hand, I saw the edge scratched in a way that matched the scrape outside. Someone had tested it, more than once. Kara stood in the doorway, arms wrapped around Eli. Jordan, she whispered, he's not supposed to know where we are. There it was. Not denial, not wind. A rule. I kept working. Does he have a key? I asked. Kara looked at Denise. Denise's shoulders lifted a fraction. Of course not. I didn't look up. Then how was the door unlocked? Silence. I finished the deadbolt, slid it home, and twisted it. The new metal clicked clean. I added the chain latch. Then I braced the door and leaned into it once. Hard, like I was testing my own work. The house didn't move. I went to the hallway key rack. 3 hooks, a house key, a car key, an empty hook that looked too recently used. I touched the empty hook. The dust was clean where a keychain would have swung. Where's the spare? I asked. Denise crossed her arms. We don't need one. I turned and met her eyes. That's not an answer. Her smile came back, small and sharp. Jordan, stop interrogating me in front of Eli. Eli wasn't looking at her. He was staring at the front window now, mouth slightly open, breathing shallow. I pulled my phone out and opened my photos. The tracker, the serial, the screenshot with the one readable line. Last seen 6. 52 a.m. I checked the time again. 10:07. Then again. 10:07. My brain kept running the numbers like a treadmill. I made a decision without announcing it. If Denise wouldn't tell me where the spare key went, I'd ask the person in our family who treated silence like a weapon. Grandpa Ron. His house was 8 minutes away. I'm taking Eli with me, I said, watching Kara's face. Kara's eyes widened. What? I'm not leaving him here if Derek is coming over, I said. Not until I know what coming over means. Denise stepped between me and the living room like she was a gate. You are not taking him. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Try to stop me, I said. Kara hugged Eli tighter, torn in half. Denise's jaw tightened like she was about to say something that would expose her. Then my phone buzzed again, an unknown number, Ohio area code, and when I answered, a man's voice said, flat and bored. This Officer Reyes, returning a call. About a tracker? Officer Reyes's voice stayed flat, like he was reading my panic off a script. Ma'am, he said, if you found a device, you bring it in. Otherwise, it's just family stuff. End quote. I found it taped inside a diaper bag, I said. It's blinking. It's tracking us. Behind me, Kara rocked Eli on her hip, whispering, it's okay, like she was convincing herself. Denise stood near the kitchen table corner with her arms folded, a barrier pretending to be a person. Reyes sighed. Do you have a serial number? Yes, I said. I have photos, timestamps, a last seen line that keeps popping up. Bring the device, he repeated, same tone. Front desk, non-emergency hours. I waited for him to ask who might have put it there. He didn't. So that's it? I asked. You're not taking a report? I didn't say that, Reyes said, and I could hear him shifting paper. I said bring it in, and stop touching it with bare hands. My grip tightened on the phone. Fine, I said. I'll bring it in, after I talk to my nephew's therapist. Reyes paused like I'd introduced a word he didn't like. Therapist? Speech clinic, I said. Okay, he answered, uninterested again. Just bring the device. The call ended. The silence that followed was louder than the coffee cup breaking. Denise lifted her chin. You're dragging strangers into this, she said. You dragged Derek into our kitchen, I shot back. Kara flinched at his name like it slapped her. Eli's fingers twisted the string on his hoodie until his knuckles went pale. I checked the time. 11:12. I checked it again. 11:12. Then I called Miss Patel back, right there in the living room, and asked for the first opening she had. 3:15, she said. If you can come in. We'll be there, I said, and hung up before Denise could take my phone. By 3:08 p.m., the clinic parking lot was packed with minivans and tired faces. Eli pressed his palms over his ears the moment we stepped inside. The waiting room smelled like sanitizer and crackers. A TV on the wall played a kids' show with the volume too high. The clinic waiting room made Eli fold into himself. Kara filled out a clipboard form with shaking hands. Denise stood behind her shoulder, reading every line like she owned the answers. I took the seat farthest from the TV and pulled my phone out. Screen dimmed. Sandan Shirfin. I looked again. 3:10. A receptionist called names like she was handing out verdicts. A dad argued about an insurance copay. A toddler screamed in a pitch that made my teeth vibrate. Denise leaned down toward me. Don't say anything unnecessary, she murmured. HIPAA exists for a reason. I stared up at her. HIPAA protects Eli, I said, not whoever's stalking us. Her lips tightened. Watch your mouth. Kara's pen scratched hard across the paper. I caught a glance at the sign-in sheet on the counter names, times, signatures. One signature near the bottom looked heavier than the others, more deliberate. I couldn't read the printed name beside it from where I sat, but something in my gut leaned forward. Miss Patel appeared in the doorway and scanned the room until her eyes landed on Eli. Her expression softened, then tightened when she saw Denise. Jordan, she asked. That's me, I said, standing. Kara stood too. Denise rose last, like she had to approve the movement. Miss Patel led us down a hallway lined with laminated posters about first words and safe hands. Eli's shoes squeaked with every step. He bumped his shoulder against the wall twice like he was testing if it would push back. Inside the small office, Miss Patel shut the door and lowered her voice. I called because we need to document something, she said, and slid a single sheet of paper toward me. It was her progress note, neat handwriting, date, time, then one line circled. Spoke, run. Kara's breath hitched. Denise's hand came down fast, palm flat on the paper like she could pin the ink down. No, Denise said, smiling without warmth. We don't need copies. Miss Patel blinked. It's his record, she said carefully. Denise's smile sharpened. And I'm his grandmother. We keep things private. I pulled the paper back under my fingertips, slow but firm. He said it at home. I told Miss Patel, while pointing at our family photo. Miss Patel's eyes flicked to Eli. Eli wasn't looking at any of us. He was staring at the door handle, humming that low engine hum again. I'm concerned, Miss Patel said, because he didn't just repeat it. He used it like a warning. Denise gave a soft laugh that didn't match her face. He watches cartoons, she said. Kids say things. I leaned forward. Then why did you drop your cup? I asked Denise, and let my voice stay level. Why did you text me not to involve anyone? Denise's eyes snapped to mine, furious and pleading at once. Jordan, she hissed. Stop. I didn't. I lifted my phone and took a photo of the note, making sure the circled line was clear. Then I checked the time 3:12 and checked it again 3:12 like my body needed the numbers to hold still. Miss Patel hesitated, then reached into a drawer and pulled out a small parking validation ticket. Here, she said, for the garage. And, Jordan, there's one more thing. Denise's posture went rigid. Miss Patel lowered her voice even further. Someone called earlier asking about Eli's schedule, she said, and they used a name you're going to recognize. Then she looked straight at my mother and said, they said they were Derek. Miss Patel's words hung in the tiny office like smoke. They said they were Derek. Denise didn't blink. She smiled, slow and practiced, like she was stepping in front of a camera. People say names, she said. That doesn't mean anything. It means someone called my nephew's clinic, I said. I kept my voice even because I didn't trust what would come out if I didn't. Asking for his schedule. Kara's fingers dug into the arm of her chair. Eli rocked once, then twice, eyes locked on the door handle like he was timing an escape. Miss Patel cleared her throat. I didn't confirm anything, she said quickly. I told them I couldn't discuss patient information, but I wanted you to know it happened. Denise reached toward Miss Patel's paper folder. And now you've told us. Great. We'll handle it privately. I slid my chair forward until my knees almost hit the desk. No, I said. We're handling it on paper. Denise's eyes flashed. Jordan. I lifted my phone and checked the time. 3:18. I checked it again. 3:18. Then I looked back up. Miss Patel, I want the access log for Eli's chart, I said, and I want it today. Miss Patel hesitated, rule-bound discomfort all over her face. I can give you a records request form, she said. The full chart takes time. It's Dalv. I don't need the full chart, I said. I need the list of who accessed it and when. Denise let out a soft laugh that had no humor. You think this is a courtroom? I work in one, I said, and my tone sharpened on purpose. And someone is tracking my family. Denise's smile stayed, her eyes didn't. Miss Patel stood and opened a file drawer, careful and quiet. She pulled out a single-page form and a carbon copy slip with a number printed at the top. She set them down between us, like she was placing a fragile object on a table. Release of information, she said. Fill this out. There's a processing fee. Denise's hand drifted toward the form. I put my palm over it first, firm but not aggressive. Kara signs, I said. She's his mother. Kara swallowed. I don't want trouble, she whispered. I want safety, I shot back. Trouble already found us. Denise leaned in, voice low, controlling. You're scaring her. You're scaring Eli. I have described. Eli didn't look scared of me. He looked scared of the door. Kara's pen shook as she filled in her name. She wrote Eli's information slowly, like each letter was a confession. Miss Patel watched her, then looked at me. There is an access log, Miss Patel said, almost apologetic. But I can only print what our system allows. Print it, I said. Miss Patel stepped out, leaving us in the small office with the hum of the air vent and Denise's breathing. Denise's voice went soft. Jordan, you're doing too much. I turned my phone so she could see the tracker photo, the serial number, the faint green blink trapped behind plastic. Then tell me why you texted me not to involve anyone. Denise's jaw tightened. Because you don't know what you're provoking. That's not an answer, I said. That's a threat dressed as concern. Miss Patel returned with a single sheet of paper in her hand, her expression tighter than before. She placed it on the desk and tapped the middle line with her finger. Patient chart access summary. Date. Time. 1/12, 2:57 p.m. Accessed by D.H. Admin override. The last name was truncated by the print settings. But the first initial and the letter that followed hit me like a brick. Denise's hand shot out. I slid the page toward myself. Miss Patel's voice came out thin. "Our system cuts off full names on this printout," she said, "but it logs the account." Denise's face held steady. "That doesn't say Denise," she said. "It says D," I replied, "and it says admin override." And Derek called right after. Kara made a strangled sound. "Mom," she breathed. Denise's eyes snapped to her. "Stop," she warned. "Control, not comfort." Miss Patel pushed a small slip across the desk, a receipt with a stamped number. "This is your records request confirmation," she said. "And if you want to file a privacy concern, I can give you the complaint form." I took the receipt. My thumb brushed the staples at the top, two of them like the universe loved repeating itself. I read the number out loud once, just to anchor it. Complaint receipt, 80417. Denise flinched at the sound of numbers being spoken. I stood. "We're going to the police station," I said, and I didn't ask. Officer Reyes was at the front desk under a flickering light that made everything look cheaper than it should. He glanced up like I was interrupting lunch. I set the Ziploc bag on the counter. The tracker blinked faint green through the plastic. I slid my phone beside it, screen showing the serial number photo and the clinic access printout. Reyes looked at the tracker first, then at Denise, then back at me. "Okay," he said slowly, like he couldn't believe it was real evidence. "Where'd you get this?" "From a diaper bag," I said, "taped under the lining." Reyes reached for the bag. I didn't stop him this time. He lifted it, squinted, then set it down like it was suddenly heavy. "You got gloves?" he asked. "Too late." "I have a timeline," I said, "and a chart access log, and a name." Reyes tapped a keyboard. "Names are messy," he muttered. "Family stuff is messy." I leaned forward, voice hard now. "Unlawful tracking isn't family stuff." Reyes paused, then pulled a blank form from a tray. He stamped it once, loud. The ink sank into paper like a decision. "Incident report," he said. "Number 24-01973. The stamp hit paper like a door locking. Denise's phone buzzed in her coat pocket. I saw the screen light up through the fabric. A message preview flashed before she could hide it. "Derek, I'm outside. Don't let her leave." Denise's pocket lit up again, and I saw it. "I'm outside. Don't let her leave." I turned my phone so Officer Reyes could read the preview. I didn't soften it. I didn't add context. I just let the words sit there, ugly and clear. Reyes's eyes shifted, finally alert. "Who's Derek?" he asked. "My mom's friend," I said, "and he knows where we are." Denise stepped closer, voice low and tight. "Jordan, stop escalating." I didn't look at her. "He already escalated," I said, "with a tracker." Kara was in the plastic chair by the wall, Eli pressed against her side. Eli had his hands over his ears again, shoulders up like armor. His eyes stayed on the station's glass doors. Reyes lifted the Ziploc bag by one corner. The tracker blinked faint green like it was proud. He slid it into an evidence bag, sealed it, then spoke the seal number out loud like it mattered. That made Denise flinch again. Reyes stamped a second page and pushed it toward me. "You've got an incident number now," he said. 24-01973. I read it once. Then I checked the time. 3:26. I checked it again. 3:26. Denise reached for her purse strap. "We're leaving," she said. Reyes's hand lifted, palm outward. "Ma'am, stay inside," he told her. "If there's someone outside making threats, I need eyes on it." Denise's smile appeared, small and brittle. "Threats?" she echoed, like the word offended her. "It's family." Reyes didn't smile back. "Family can still be a problem," he said. He stepped away from the desk and walked toward the front doors. Through the glass, I saw a man standing near the sidewalk, hands in his pockets like he belonged there. Mid-30s, clean jacket, calm posture. He looked more like a realtor than a threat. Then he smiled straight at Denise through the glass. Kara made a thin sound in her throat and pulled Eli tighter. Eli started humming, low and steady, like a motor trying to keep him upright. Denise moved without thinking, 2 steps toward the door, one hand lifting, like she was about to wave him in. I stepped in front of her. "Don't," I said. Denise's eyes flashed, furious and pleading at once. "Jordan," she hissed, "move." "No," I said. "Not with Eli here." "I think—" Her voice turned syrup smooth, the version she used on Neighbors. "You're overreacting." I didn't argue the word. I just watched her hands. They weren't shaking anymore. That was the scariest part. Reyes opened the inner door a crack and spoke to Derek outside. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw Derek's mouth move in slow, confident sentences. Attack without volume. Then Derek lifted something in his hand. A folder. Manila. Paper inside, thick enough to have weight. Reyes held up one finger, the universal "wait," and looked back at me. "Do you have a child custody order?" he asked. Kara's head snapped up. "No," she whispered. "No, Denise cut in, fast. "There's paperwork," she said. "It's not like that." Kara stared at her mother like she'd been slapped. "What paperwork?" she asked. Denise's eyes darted to Eli, then to the glass doors, then down. Evade, evade, evade. I noticed her tote bag hanging open at her hip. The zipper was half down, like she'd been in it recently. A corner of white paper peeked out, the edge stamped with a faint gray watermark. Courthouse paper. My paralegal brain snapped into motion without asking permission. I hooked 2 fingers into the tote and pulled the paper free. Denise grabbed my wrist. "Jordan, don't!" I didn't yank away. I just turned my wrist so her grip was visible, then made my voice quiet. "Let go," I said. Or, I say it out loud. End quote. Her fingers loosened like they'd hit a hot stove. I unfolded the document on the counter under the harsh desk light. The header hit first. Franklin County Court of Common Pleas. My eyes dropped to the caption line. Names, addresses, a case number, bolded words in a font that always means trouble. Petition for companionship. I read the petitioner name twice, because my brain refused it the first time. Derek, A. The docket line felt like a hand closing on Eli. Kara leaned in, eyes wide, breath shallow. "What is that?" she whispered. "It's a court filing," I said. My voice stayed steady. My stomach didn't. "He's asking for visitation." Denise's chin lifted. "Control." "He has rights," she said. "You don't know the whole story." Kara's face went gray. "You told him where we were," she said. "And it wasn't a question." Denise swallowed. I kept reading, scanning for the part that mattered most. Hearing date, room number, service instructions, then a line that punched harder than the header. Third-party contact, Denise H. Denise's name, her signature below it, neat and confident. I checked the time. 3:29. I checked again. 3:29. Reyes turned back from the doors, folder now in his own hand. His expression had changed, less bored, more careful. He looked at my document on the counter, then at Kara, then at Eli. "Ma'am," Reyes said, and his tone finally carried weight. "He's telling me he's here for the child right now." Officer Reyes kept his voice low, but his eyes stayed on Eli. "Ma'am," he said to Kara, "he doesn't have an order in his hand. He has a filing. That's not the same thing." Derek stood outside the glass like he was waiting for a table at a restaurant. Calm, smiling, folder tucked under his arm like he'd rehearsed this. Denise leaned in toward Reyes, voice sweet. "He's not dangerous," she said. "He's just trying to see his child." Kara's face snapped toward her. "You said he wasn't supposed to know," she whispered. Denise didn't answer Kara. She answered the room. "Everyone is overreacting," she said, like she could smooth us flat with words. I watched Eli's hands clamp over his ears again. His shoulders rose. His eyes tracked the doors like he expected them to bite. Eli kept staring at the doors like they could open themselves. Reyes turned to me. "You're saying there's a tracking device," he said, nodding toward the sealed evidence bag on the counter. "And you're saying this petition is tied to it." "I'm saying my mother helped him," I said, and I didn't lower my voice for Denise's comfort. Denise's head jerked like I'd slapped her. "Jordan," she hissed. I kept my eyes on Reyes. "He called the clinic today," I said. "He asked for Eli's schedule. Someone accessed the chart with an admin override, and he texted my mom." I lifted my phone. "Don't let her leave." Reyes exhaled through his nose, not bored anymore. "Okay," he said. "Everybody stays inside. Nobody hands the child over to anyone right now." Denise stepped closer to him, trying to reclaim the center. "You can't keep him from his father," she said. Kara made a broken sound. Dad? She whispered, like the word burned. Derek's smile widened through the glass, like he heard the crack in her voice anyway. Reyes raised a hand. Ma'am, he said to Denise, firm now, I'm not deciding parentage at the front desk. Denise's smile stayed. Her eyes didn't. Then open the door and let me talk to him. No, Reyes said. I felt the shift control leaving her. For once, Denise's fingers curled around her tote strap until the knuckles went white. I checked the time. 3:33. Then again. 3:33. My brain did it without asking. Reyes motioned me a step aside. Do you have any camera footage at home? He asked. I blinked. We have a doorbell cam, I said, and then I hated how normal it sounded. Pull it up, he said. If someone was at your door, that matters. Denise snapped. This is ridiculous. Like cameras were gossip, not proof. I opened my app with hands that wanted to shake but didn't. The screen loaded slow. Buffering wheel. My thumb hovered, impatient. Kara stood behind my shoulder, breathing too fast. Eli pressed his face into her jacket, humming low. Reyes stayed close, looking over my screen like he'd done this with strangers 100 times. I found the overnight timeline. Small thumbnails, black and white clips, motion alerts stacked like tiny accusations. 2:30 a.m. I checked the time twice, 3:34, 3:34, then tapped the 2:13 clip. The video tried to load and froze. Denise let out a soft laugh, relieved. See? Nothing. I hit play again. The loading circle spun. I held my breath until it felt like my ribs would snap. The clip finally moved. Headlights washed the alley behind our duplex in pale light. A vehicle rolled in, slow, careful. The camera angle caught the side panel and the distinctive dent above the rear wheel. Grandpa Ron's truck. Kara's hand flew to her mouth. No, she whispered, like denial was a prayer. Denise didn't say no. She said, flat and fast, that doesn't prove anything. Reyes leaned closer. Who drives that truck? He asked. I didn't answer him. I watched the clip. The truck stopped. A door opened. A figure stepped down into the alley shadow and moved toward our back door with the confidence of someone who knew where the deadbolt scraped. The time code burned. 2:13 a.m. My throat went tight. Kara's nails dug into my arm without her noticing. Reyes said, zoom in. If you never meant to do. I pinched the screen, enlarging the figure's outline as it reached toward the lock. And the person's hand lifted, flashing something small and metallic in the alley light. A key. The key glinted in the alley light for half a second, then disappeared into the lock like it belonged there. Reyes leaned closer to my screen. Pause it, he said. I tapped. The frame froze. Ron's truck angled just right, the dent above the rear wheel plain as daylight. The figure's hand was midair, knuckles lit, key between fingers. Kara made a sound that wasn't a word. Her knees buckled and she caught herself on the chair. Eli's hum went louder, like he was trying to drown out the room. Denise didn't move. She didn't gasp. She didn't ask questions. She just stared at the frozen image with a face so calm it made me cold. Grandpa Ron's truck wasn't a coincidence. Reyes looked up. That's your father? He asked me, voice careful. My grandfather, I said. The words tasted wrong. Denise's smile flickered on. Ron has helped with the house for years, she said. He has keys. That doesn't mean... Stop, Kara snapped, and it came out sharp enough to cut. Just stop talking like that. Denise's eyes flashed at her. Lower your voice. Kara didn't. You told him where we were, she said. You told Derek. You told Grandpa. You told everyone except me. Eli squeezed his hoodie strings until his hands shook. I crouched in front of him and kept my voice low. Hey, I said, soft. Look at me. He didn't. His eyes stayed on the glass doors where Derek stood, still smiling, still waiting. Reyes pointed at my phone. Let it play, he said. My thumb hit the screen. The clip moved again. Ron's figure leaned in toward the deadbolt. A small shoulder shift pressure, then the door cracked open a few inches. And then something happened that made the hair on my arms lift. From inside the house, inside our duplex, another shape appeared in the gap. A second figure, framed by the dark interior. The person stepped onto the back stoop. Not a stranger. Not a shadow. My mother's posture. My mother's robe. My mother's hand. Denise, at 2:13 a.m., turning her head to scan the alley like she was checking for witnesses. Then I saw my mother at 2:13 a.m. Kara's hand slapped over her mouth. "No," she whispered, like the word could rewind video. Denise's chin lifted. "Too fast." "That's not," she started. I pinched the screen, zooming until the pixels broke into blocks. The clip held long enough to show her hand reaching back inside, then reappearing with something soft and bulky. A diaper bag. Kara's diaper bag. Denise held it by the strap like it was nothing, like it was groceries, like it wasn't an object that carried our kids' spare clothes and snacks, and now the place a tracker had been taped under the lining. She handed the bag outward toward Ron for a beat, then pulled it back in, like she changed her mind. Her other hand dipped under the side panel in one quick, practiced motion, exactly where my fingers had found the taped square this morning. Kara let out a sharp, ugly cry. "You put it in there," she said to Denise. "You put it in my bag." Denise's smile turned brittle. "I was protecting you." "From who?" I demanded. I wasn't calm anymore. I didn't care if strangers heard. "From Derek? Or for Derek?" Reyes's face changed. The board mask dropped. He straightened like he finally remembered his job. He held his hand out. "Email that clip to the station address," he said. "Right now. And don't delete anything." Denise stepped forward, voice sweet again. "Officer, it's family. We can explain." Reyes cut her off without raising his voice. "Ma'am, step back." That word "step back" landed like a slap on someone who never hears it. Kara's eyes locked on Denise with a kind of clarity I'd never seen. "He threatened me," she said, voice shaking but steady. "Derek, years ago. He said if I ever hid Eli, he'd make sure I never got to be alone again." Denise's face tightened. Kara kept going. "You said he'd calm down. You said paperwork would keep it orderly. You said you were the only one who could manage him." I stared at my mother. "Manage him," I repeated. "By tracking us?" Denise's breath went shallow. "You don't know what he's capable of," she said, and for 1 second, fear cracked through her control. "Then why were you helping him get closer?" I snapped. Reyes turned toward the doors. Derek was still outside, still composed, but his smile had thinned. He could feel the room shifting even through glass. Reyes spoke into his radio, low and quick. Then he looked back at us. "Nobody leaves alone," he said, "and if that man comes inside, he doesn't speak to the child." I was don't now the Toonie Tan. My phone buzzed in my hand, an alert from the doorbell app I'd just used. Backdoor motion 2 minutes ago. The doorbell alert lit up my screen like a flare. Backdoor motion 2 minutes ago. I stared at it, then checked the time. 3:41. I checked again. 3:41. The same minute stared back, solid and cruel. Kara's face tightened. "That's our house," she whispered. Denise leaned in too fast, trying to reclaim my phone with her eyes. "It's probably a cat," she said, airy. "Those cameras trigger for anything." "It triggered at 2:13 a.m. for your robe," I snapped. Officer Reyes looked at the alert, then at the sealed evidence bag, then at Eli. "You going home right now?" he asked. "No," I said. The word came out sharp. "Eli has pickup in 20 minutes. Kara nodded like she'd just remembered the world still runs on schedules. "His program closes at 4, she said, voice thin. If we're late, someone else can be early," I finished. Reyes exhaled and rubbed his jaw. "Go straight there," he said. "Lock down the pickup list. Tell them there's an active incident number." He tapped the paper. 24-1973. Denise's smile tried to come back. "We don't need to frighten the school," she said. "It's a misunderstanding." I looked at her. A misunderstanding doesn't come with a tracker and a petition. She opened her mouth to manage me again. I didn't let her. "Kara," I said, "you sit in the office and you say one sentence. No one leaves with Eli but me. You don't explain. You don't justify." Kara swallowed hard, then nodded once, like she was gripping a rope. Eli's hands were still over his ears. He stared at the station doors the whole time, humming low like he was keeping himself anchored. The school front office smelled like copier toner and wet boots. A bell above the door jingled when we came in, and every head turned the way heads turn when panic walks in quietly. The school office felt like a courtroom without a judge. A secretary with bright nails looked up from her computer. "Can I help you?" Kara stepped forward, shoulders trembling. "I need to update the pickup list," she said. "Now." Denise tried to slide in beside her, voice sweet. We're just making sure everything is orderly. I cut her off. There's a police incident number, I said, and placed the stamped sheet on the counter like it was a badge. 24 to 01973. The secretary's eyes flicked to the number, then to Eli pressed against Kara's leg, then to Denise's too-perfect posture. Her smile tightened into something professional. Okay, she said. Let me get Miss Henson. We waited under fluorescent lights that made everyone look tired. A dad in a work jacket filled out a late slip. 2 kids sat on a bench swinging their feet, whispering and watching us like we were a show. Denise leaned close to my ear. You're humiliating your sister, she murmured. I'm protecting my nephew, I said, not lowering my voice. Her eyes flashed anger disguised as concern. He will retaliate, she whispered, like that was supposed to move me back into line. I checked the time. 3:47. I checked again. 3:47. Miss Henson, the counselor, appeared with a lanyard and a calm face that had seen too many emergencies. Kara, she said gently, come with me. We followed her into a small room off the main office. A round table, tissue box, school posters about safe choices. The door clicked shut behind us. Kara sat. Eli climbed into her lap like he'd been waiting for permission. Miss Henson kept her voice soft. What's going on? I slid my phone across the table and opened the map screen I'd been staring at all day. Unknown tracker alert history, pins, times, a tight little cluster that made my stomach drop. 2:13 a.m. near our back door. 2:57 p.m. near the clinic. 3:44 p.m. near this school. The pins formed a trail straight to Eli. Miss Henson's expression shifted from polite to alert. Is that showing the device's locations? It's showing when it was detected near us, I said. And who keeps showing up at the same places? Denise made a scoffing sound. Phones misread things, she said. This is not proof. It's enough to change a pickup list, I said. Miss Henson nodded once. Control, but in a helpful way. Kara, legally, who can pick Eli up today? Kara's voice trembled, but it held. Me, she said. Only me. Denise tried to pivot. I'm his grandmother. I've always been authorized. Kara's head snapped toward her. Not anymore, she said. And her eyes were wet but steady. You don't get access. Denise went still. Then she tried a softer angle. Kara, honey, you're upset. Let's not make permanent decisions in a moment. I leaned forward. We are making temporary safety decisions in a dangerous moment. Miss Henson typed quickly, then slid a printed form toward Kara. Sign here, she said. We can also flag the front desk and call security if anyone comes in asking for him. End quote. As if the universe was listening, the front office phone rang. Miss Henson glanced at the screen, then at us. Her face tightened. It's the desk, she said. She answered, listened, then covered the receiver and looked at Kara. There's a man here, she whispered. He says he's on the pickup list. He says his name is Derek. The room went cold. Kara clutched Eli so hard he squeaked. Denise stood up too fast, chair scraping. I'll handle it, she said, already moving for the door. I stepped in front of her. No, I said. You already did. On the other side of the wall, I heard the front bell jingle again, and Derek's voice carried through the office, calm as a threat. I'm here for my son. Derek's voice floated through the office like he owned the air. I'm here for my son. Miss Henson's calm face tightened, but she stayed steady. Please stay in this room, she told Kara, then stepped into the hallway and shut the door with a soft click that sounded like a lock. Denise reached for the handle anyway. I put my hand flat on the door first. You don't get to fix this, I said. Her smile turned sharp. Move, she whispered. You're making it worse. You made it worse at 2:13 a.m., I said, and watched her flinch. Kara clutched Eli so tight his little shoe scraped the chair. Eli's hands stayed on his ears. His hum rose in pitch, then steadied again, like he was holding himself together with vibration. Through the wall, I heard the secretary say, Sir, you're not on. Derek cut in, smooth and loud enough to carry. Check again. Denise always handles it. Denise's throat worked once. Evade, then control. He's just persistent, she said. Like persistence explains stalking. I checked the time. 3:52. I checked again. 3:52. Then the front bell jingled, and another sound followed boots, Fast steps, radios. A male voice I recognized said, "Where is he?" "Officer Reyes." "Miss." Henson returned, moving with purpose now. "He's at the desk," she said, and her eyes flicked to Eli. "Security's with him. He's insisting." Reyes's voice sharpened. "No one releases the child." Blue lights washed the glass like a warning. I leaned closer to the small room's window. Outside, in the front lot, a cruiser had pulled in at an angle. The strobes painted the hallway walls in hard color. Parents in the entryway turned their heads. Phones rose. Witnesses assembled, without being invited. Denise stepped toward the window, face pale under fluorescence. "This is unnecessary," she said, but her voice didn't have teeth. Reyes appeared in the office doorway, breath slightly fast, posture locked in. "Jordan," he said, then nodded once at Kara. "Ma'am." Kara couldn't stand. She just hugged Eli and stared at Reyes like he was the only solid thing left. Reyes held up an evidence bag. Inside, the tracker sat like a guilty little heart. The seal number was written in thick marker across the top. He spoke it out loud. "Seal number A11762. Denise's eyes pinched shut for half a second, like hearing it on record hurt. Reyes looked at Miss Henson. "Where's the man?" he asked. "Front desk," she said. "He's saying he's the father." Reyes's jaw flexed. "He can say a lot of things." He turned to Kara. "Do you have a court order granting him pickup?" he asked. Kara shook her head once, tiny. "No." Reyes nodded. "Then he doesn't leave with the child." Denise stepped in, voice sweet again. "Officer," he filed paperwork, she said. "There's a petition. We were trying to keep it orderly." Reyes's eyes slid to her. "You mean the petition listing you as third-party contact?" Denise's smile froze. I felt the room tilt. Kara's face tightened like she finally understood the shape of the trap. Reyes held his hand out. "Ma'am," he said to Denise, "step back from the door." Denise didn't move. I watched her calculation happen behind her eyes. Control, then flip. "I'm his grandmother," she said. "I'm allowed to be here." Reyes didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "You're also involved," he said, and that word hit like a stamp. He nodded to Miss Henson. "Keep them here," he said, then turned and walked out. I followed to the hallway, staying close enough to hear, but not close enough to get in the way. At the front desk, Derek stood with his folder open, one finger pressed to a line like he was presenting a receipt. He wore the calm smile of someone used to being believed. The secretary's face was tight. A security guard stood at Derek's side, palms open, cautious. Derek saw Reyes and lifted his chin. "Officer," he said, polite. "I'm here to pick up my son." Reyes didn't offer his hand. "What's your full name?" he asked. "Derek H.," Derek said, smooth. "I filed for companionship. Here." Jam. He slid the folder forward like a gift. Reyes didn't touch it. "A filing isn't an order," he said, "and a tracker isn't companionship." Derek's smile thinned. "Tracker?" he echoed. "I don't know what you mean." Reyes held up the evidence bag so Derek could see the faint green blink. "This was found taped inside a diaper bag," he said, voice steady. "It's been logged. It's tied to this incident." Derek glanced at the bag for a fraction of a second, too fast to be innocent, then looked away. "That's ridiculous," he said. "They're paranoid." Denise stepped up behind Reyes, trying to flank him. "Officer, he's not dangerous," she said. "He just—" Reyes didn't look at her. He looked at Derek. "You contacted a clinic today," he said. "You asked for a child's schedule." Derek's smile came back, brittle now. "I made a call," he said. "That's not a crime." Reyes's voice stayed flat. "Unlawful tracking is—" Derek's posture shifted. "Not panic. Anger slipping through polish." "You can't keep him from me," he said, louder. Parents nearby leaned in. Phones rose higher. Kara stepped into the hallway behind me, Eli in her arms. The moment Derek saw Eli, his face changed ownership, not love. He took one step forward. The security guard stepped in front of him. Reyes lifted one hand. "Stop," he said, and it landed like a wall. Derek pointed past the guard, straight at Kara. "That's my son," he said, voice sharp now. "She stole him." Kara's whole body shook. She didn't speak. She just held Eli tighter and stared at the floor like it might open. Denise turned to Kara, low and urgent. "Let me talk," she whispered. "Let me fix it." Kara finally looked up. "No," she said, Small but clean. You don't touch him. Reyes glanced at Kara, then back to Derek. Sir, he said, turn around. Derek laughed once, disbelieving. For what? He asked. Reyes didn't blink. For unlawful tracking, he said, and nodded at the evidence bag. And for making contact after being warned. Derek's smile broke. This is insane, he snapped. Denise, tell him. Denise didn't move. Reyes reached for Derek's wrist. The security guard shifted closer. Derek tried to pull back, then realized the hallway was full of eyes. Cuffs clicked. A mother near the entrance covered her kid's ears. Somebody's phone camera flashed. Derek's voice rose, desperate and furious at once. You can't keep him. Reyes cut him off mid-sentence. We're done, he said, and guided him toward the door. Kara stood frozen, Eli's face buried in her shoulder. Eli's hum softened, like the threat had moved farther away. I checked the time. 4:01. I checked again. 4:01. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A notification lit the screen. Court order. Pending, ready for pickup. The school office stayed loud even after Derek left. Parents whispered. Phones kept rising. Miss Henson printed a revised pickup form and slid it to Kara like a lifeline. Kara signed with a shaking hand. Then she signed again. Officer Reyes stood by the counter and spoke to the secretary like she mattered. If he calls, if he shows, you call 911, he said, and you reference incident number 24 to 01973. Hearing our number out loud in daylight did something to me. It stopped feeling like panic and started feeling like record. Reyes pulled me aside near the copier. He's being booked, he said. Your evidence bag and the clip are logged. If you want paperwork, you go now. I nodded like my neck belonged to someone calm. Eli stayed pressed into Kara's shoulder, humming softer, eyes half closed like he was finally running out of fuel. We drove to the courthouse with the sky turning gray. Kara sat in the passenger seat and kept rubbing Eli's socked foot with her thumb, the same motion on repeat. Denise followed in her own car, too close, like she still believed proximity meant authority. Inside, the hallway smelled like wet coats and old paper. A clerk took my forms without looking at my face, just the dates and numbers. I wrote 24 to 01973 twice, then checked it twice, like the ink could move. A deputy returned with a stamped packet in a manila sleeve. The judge's stamp made the incident number real. Temporary. No contact, no pickup, no just talk. The language was clean, cold, and exactly what Denise had tried to avoid by handling it. It's not now, N21. Denise hovered at the end of the hallway, eyes shiny, mouth tight. Jordan, she called softly, like she could still summon me with tone alone. I didn't walk to her. I walked past her. Back in the car, I opened my phone settings and found the shared location link Kara had never remembered turning on. A little toggle, innocent as a lie. My thumb hovered for a second, then pressed. I deleted the dot and watched it vanish. Kara exhaled like she'd been underwater. We didn't go home. Not first. We went to Grandpa Ron's place, the small ranch with the oil stain on the driveway that never disappears. His truck sat out front, that same dent above the rear wheel like a signature. Ron opened the door and looked at Eli, then at Kara, then at me. His face didn't change. His silence always arrived first. I held up my phone, paused on the frozen frame. 2:13 a.m., key in hand. Tell me, I said, why were you at our door? Ron's jaw worked once. He glanced over my shoulder, like he expected Denise to be standing there even when she wasn't. I didn't want trouble, he said finally. That's what you brought, Kara whispered. Ron stared at the driveway, not at us. One sentence came out, rough and simple. Denise said he was the father. Then he stopped talking like the words had cost him something he didn't want to pay. I waited for more. It didn't come. When we got back to the duplex, the kitchen table corner looked different. Same scratches, same chair, but now the corner held a stamped packet, a police printout, and my double-stapled hardware receipt folded small. I caught myself smoothing the papers into a perfect stack. Then I stopped. My hands just rested. Still, for once. A knock hit the front door, gentle, careful, like it didn't want to be recorded. Denise's voice came through the wood. Jordan, she said, thinner now. Please. I'm sorry. I didn't answer right away. I checked the time. 6:12. I checked it again. 6:12. Then I opened the door with the chain on. Denise stood on the porch with her hands empty. No cup, no tote, no smile. Her eyes went past me to Eli, peeking from the hallway, then snapped back like she'd been burned. "I was trying to keep him calm," she whispered. "I thought if I managed him—" I cut her off by closing the door. It shut on her next word, mid-syllable. And a second later, the new deadbolt rattled once from the outside. The deadbolt rattled again, once soft, testing like a knuckle tap made of metal. I didn't move. I stood with the chain on, palm flat against the inside of the door, and listened to the quiet around it. Eli's small feet padded on the hallway carpet behind me. He didn't hum this time. He just watched. The chain held while my mother tested the lock. "Denise," I said through the wood. "Stop." Outside, her breath caught. Then her voice came thin, pleading. "I wasn't, You were," I said. "I kept it calm because calm is a boundary too. You're checking if you still have access." A pause. Then the softest scrape like a key being pulled away from a keyhole it shouldn't have been in. "I don't have a key," Denise said quickly. I looked at the chain latch, then at the deadbolt I'd installed myself. New metal, clean lines, no mercy. "Then you're not the one who rattled it," I said. Her silence answered me. Kara stepped up beside Eli in the hallway, one hand on his shoulder. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her face said, "Not again." Denise tried a different angle, voice smoother, controlling. "Jordan, open the door. Let me see Eli. 5 minutes. I won't talk about Derek. I won't talk about court." I almost laughed, but it came out as a breath. "You don't get to set the terms," I said. Her voice sharpened, the mask slipping. "I'm his grandmother. Aiden Alovet. And you're the reason he said run," I said. The words hit hard in the quiet. Eli's fingers curled around Kara's thumb. He looked at the door, then looked at me. His eyes were tired, but they were clear. Denise lowered her voice again, pleading now. "I was afraid," she whispered. "He wouldn't stop. He'd call, he'd show up, he'd say things. I thought if I managed him, I could keep you safe." I leaned closer to the crack where the door met the frame. "You didn't manage him," I said. "You delivered us." That sentence hung there. No yelling, no drama, just truth. Denise made a small sound like she'd swallowed something sharp. "I didn't know what else to do." "You could have told Kara," I said. "You could have told me. You could have chosen Eli over your fear of looking messy." There was a long pause, then her voice came smaller. "I'm sorry." I waited. I didn't rush to rescue her from her own words. I didn't open the door to soften them. "I filed a no-contact order," I said, through the wood. "It applies to Derek, and it applies to anyone helping him reach Eli." Denise whispered, "You wouldn't." "I already did," I said. Another pause. I heard her shift on the porch, the creak of the step. "Jordan, please." I didn't answer with comfort. I answered with instruction. "Go home," I said, "and leave your keys with Officer Reyes tomorrow." Kara's breath stuttered beside me, like she couldn't believe I said it out loud. Denise's voice tried one last time to control the narrative. "You're tearing the family apart." I stared at the peephole like it was a witness stand. "No," I said. "You did that. I'm just stopping the bleeding." Outside, her footsteps moved away. Down the porch steps, across the walk, a car door opened, then shut. An engine started. The sound faded until it was just the refrigerator hum and Eli's breathing. I slid the chain off and threw the deadbolt again. Slow, deliberate. Click. Then I slid the chain back on anyway. Not because I needed it, because I wanted the ritual. Kara exhaled. Her shoulders dropped like she'd been carrying a weight for years and didn't realize it had a handle. In the kitchen, the table corner still held the stack. Court packet, incident printout, clinic receipt slip, the double-stapled hardware receipt folded small. My fingers reached for the papers automatically. Then I stopped. I didn't check the time. I didn't check it twice. I took the family photo down from the mantel and set it lower, on a side shelf, out of Eli's reach. The glass caught the kitchen light and threw it back at me, my face, not Derek's, not Denise's, not anyone else's. Kara watched, eyes wet. "Do we keep it?" she asked. "We keep the truth," I said, "not the performance." I picked up the double-stapled receipt and felt the staples bite my thumb one last time. Then I walked to the trash can and dropped it in. Paper, metal, gone. Kara flinched, like throwing it away meant losing protection. "It's okay," I said quietly. The protection is in the file now, not in our hands. Eli padded to the hallway and turned on his nightlight himself. A small plug-in glow bloomed against the wall. He looked back at us, then pointed at the light. "Safe," he said, soft. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was just one word, placed exactly where it belonged. Kara's face crumpled, and she laughed once through tears. I felt my throat tighten, but I didn't chase it with panic. I let it sit. I poured coffee into Denise's old mug, another one from the cabinet, unbroken, and carried it to the table. For the first time in days, my hand didn't shake, and the coffee stayed in the cup.